Welcome back to the Blue Line Living Podcast. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of getting to have a discussion with my friend Brianne. She's a paramedic's wife, a Colorado girl like myself, married to her high school sweetheart, and a business owner. Today, we are going to talk about the way this lifestyle has changed us, how we've continued to adapt as we've gone on. I personally am looking forward to some insight into being a paramedic's wife and the way it compares to the police world. With that said, let's get started. Please welcome my friend, Bree. Hi,
Hello.
friend.
Hi. I
I
feel
can't
like I
believe
need
we
to
finally
wave.
did it. If you're on YouTube, you get to enjoy our lovely decor, a nice wave from Bree, and her stylish hat. So that's good.
Thank you. Only for you, Jessica.
Oh, thank you. I'll take it. I'll
Good.
gladly take it. Well, let's kick it off. I hear you have a little story to kick us off with today that might be
I do.
relevant to the first responder world, huh? Yeah.
Always. I will apologize to your listeners as my voice is not normally this low. Um, I am lost my voice and can't get it back. So here we are. As first responder spouses, we just have to adapt. So here I am. So I have two kids, and we can go into that story later. But I had to set up, Jessica and I could only meet at this time, and I had to set up childcare for my kids. Well, I forgot the important thing of giving my mom a key to get into daycare to pick up my son. So I get a call like right before we're supposed to get on. And she's like, I'm stuck outside. Where do I go? And I thankfully have the director's phone number. So I called her, and my children are taken care of. They're fine. But my husband is on shift. So what do you do? Like, it's on me. I had to figure it out. And I was like, okay, that's what we're going to do today. So that and tech troubles, we're starting off strong.
Yes, we've lived true responder spouse life just trying to record this podcast,
For real.
rescheduling a couple times, losing our voice, walking kids out of places, and then I turned off the sound on my laptop and thought the whole thing broke. So, that's
We're
very
doing great. We're doing great.
yeah,
It's awesome.
right.
I love it. It's totally fine.
That's great.
So,
Well, let's get started by maybe you could give us a little bit of background on you
yeah.
and your husband and like how you got into the first responder world and what he does.
Yeah. So I never in a million years, like you've mentioned, thought that I would be in this world of being a first responder spouse. So my husband and I met in youth group. He was in college for being a mechanic. I was in high school, but ready to go to college, get an education degree, and go teach. That was our life plan. He was a mechanic for a long time, so we've been together 14 years as of January. We'll be married for 10 years in June, which is a long freaking time. But when we started all of this, he was a mechanic. So he did that. I became a teacher and he hated it. And I didn't love him being a mechanic. The hours were super long. Um, I had summers off and he didn't. So I hated that. So he actually started working like as a mechanic on the ambulances for Grand County EMS. Yeah.
How did he get
So
connected with that?
that they just brought their ambulances down the mountain to his dealership,
Oh.
happenstance, like
Mhm.
total random. So he ended up talking to the chief when the chief came down to pick up an ambulance,
Yeah.
and literally the rest is history. He is
Totally.
now, yeah, he went from an EMT to a paramedic to a lieutenant. That's why he's a paramedic lieutenant, I think. I don't really get the terms right. Is that bad.
Nope.
It's fine. It
Mm-mm.
is what it is. And then in that midst of time, he became a EMT 2 years into marriage. We had our first boy 6 years ago. That's wild. And then we had a baby girl 2 years ago. So a lot has changed since we were in high school. And I
Yeah,
would never have predicted this ever.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, so if you were to talk to your 16-year-old self now about like your life, what would be the most surprising thing to you?
Oh gosh, a lot. One, I'm a business owner. Like never, ever would have thought that.
Yeah, yeah.
And two, I would say being independent. So I have never, this will surprise you, Jessica. Not really, because this
Yeah.
is me,
Tell
but
me more.
I have never lived on my own ever. And so,
Mm,
I'm not an independent person. I like people. I like being with people. So
yeah.
I literally had to call when Logan started as an EMT. He would be gone for 48 hours, and I can share more of that, but I would literally call and have him on speaker while I took a shower because I was so nervous. Because I was like, I can't be at home. I'm by myself. So I would have him just hang out on speaker. I don't know what he would have done. He was in the mountains, but there we are. So yeah, I think this 16-year-old self would be like shocked that I not only am independent, I solo parent a
Yeah.
bunch and I can take a shower without having to call someone. So go me.
In fact, maybe you enjoy showering without having to call anybody.
I mean, it is
Like maybe
beautiful.
a silent shower is like nice.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I love it.
Exactly. Okay, so what's like a typical weekly schedule? Maybe monthly schedule is easier to describe for you.
Um, how much time do you have, Jessica? How much time do you want to talk?
You know, a fair amount. Give us
Yeah.
some insight. Yeah.
So our schedule changes every week. We don't even have like a monthly schedule. It is
Mm.
consistently, or it's, yeah, consistently inconsistent. So Logan is my husband. I don't know if I said that. Logan works 48 hours on, and then he has 4 days off. So that only equals a 6-day work cycle, which means in a 7-day normal person world, it rotates back every week. So if he's
Right.
on shift Wednesday, Thursday, the next week he's Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday. I'm like, I can't even
I
remember.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, so it moves back. So we can plan things because we know the cycle. Um, and it's kind of nice because he doesn't miss like the same thing every week. But
Yeah.
everyone's like, so how do you make appointments for like doctors? And I'm like, I have to look at that week specifically because it's
Do you sit down at
inconsistently.
like the beginning of the year and like take a calendar and put on all the days?
Yeah.
Because like doctors
Actually,
schedule like 2 months out now,
yeah,
if not
yeah.
more.
No. So, fun fact, Google Calendar will do any cycle that you want. So, we put it on a 6-day cycle. So it's in our Google Calendar. Fun
Cool.
fact. Yeah,
Thank you,
it's actually
Google.
very
Come
helpful.
on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
yeah.
Okay, so
It's
let's
wild.
talk a little bit about the adaptations to this lifestyle because you're a teacher. So you thought like it was hard having summers off and him not having summers off. So like, what does that look like now? And how has life had to adapt as your family has grown, as you've grown, as he like talked with the chief one day and the next day worked in Grand County? Like, how does
Yeah,
that go? Which
I have
for
no idea.
those of you that don't know where we're at, Grand County is like what, an hour and a half from where we live?
Oh, Hour and a half to 2 hours, yeah.
Hour and a half to 2 hours
Yeah.
from where we live. So that's his commute.
Yep. Yeah. It's a lot. What I always tell people is his commute is like a normal person's work commute just shoved into one day. Because he goes up
Right.
and then he's like a firefighter, is how I can explain it. Um, and then he stays up 48 hours and then he comes home then day three's morning. That makes sense.
Mhm. Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of adaptations. I'm like, it's a lot. I mean, simply solo parenting is never what I dreamed, ever.
Mhm.
That's super hard. Um, I've also grown really comfortable with, like, doing things on my own when there's a holiday and they're gone because the schedule's set, and they don't get holiday pay. So if you're on holiday
Mm.
and you can't trade with someone, like, sucks to be you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Ask me more because 'cause I'm not sure. I feel like there's a lot in
Okay.
my brain.
Okay. Um, let's go into story mode and see if that sparks something. So,
Yeah,
give me, like let's start, um, hard. Okay, give me the
yeah.
hardest thing that's happened to you as being a first responder spouse.
Okay. I have 2. I have a funny and a
Okay,
serious. Which one do you want first?
funny. Let's go funny.
Funny. Okay. We had a German Shepherd. She is very hairy. She got sprayed by a skunk, not only once, but twice. And guess what? Logan was on shift both freaking times.
Both times, totally.
Yep.
Mhm.
And not only that, Jessica, I was pregnant the second time. So our dog comes in from outside. Praise the Lord, my brother. Shout out Bryce, because he was with me that night. I don't know why. She comes in and she's sprayed. We
Mm.
lock her in the bathroom. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I panic. I get so nauseous when I'm pregnant.
My
So I'm
gosh.
throwing up in the kitchen sink. The dog is in the bathroom. Logan is on shift. And my brother called my mom and is like, "Come now." Like, I don't know what to do.
Oh
So,
my god.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, like, every bad thing that can happen happens when your husband is gone. Always.
That
Like,
like, every time the most stressful thing, it's always when they're
yes,
gone. I
always.
I mean, okay, so you talked about
Yeah.
throwing up. So, literally every time I'm sick, he's gone
Mhm.
on work
Yeah,
or, like, it's a call out or something, and then every time he gets sick, he goes and lays in bed for 3 days until he feels
that's
better, and
awesome.
I'm like, "Dude, how
Yeah.
how is this?" Because
Yeah.
the most vivid one to me is when I had the flu when our first daughter was a baby, and, we lived in a tri-level style home, and so I
Yeah.
literally ran up the stairs, put her into her pack and play, ran to throw up, came back, got her out of the pack and play, and, like, resumed normal life, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What?
Yes.
I'm not laying in bed
100%.
resting and recovering, like, come
Oh,
on."
never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We
No.
had a
Right.
neurovirus once.
Oh, no.
It was so bad, and Logan was on shift, and my poor mom had come over to help. Praise the Lord for grandparents right now.
I know.
But I remember very vividly, I was laying on the bathroom floor, and she comes army crawling into the room because she had gotten sick, and she goes, "We need
Oh.
backup." And I called Logan, and I was like, "I do not care what you are doing. You have to come home at this moment." And there's still
Yep.
resistance to that, and it was still a 2-hour drive. My
Yep.
dad ended up coming over to, like, spare the time in between. So, it always
Okay,
happens
so
that
that I'm curious, does that, like, always hang in the back of your head of, like, if something happens, he's 2 hours away
way.
at
Yeah,
minimum?
100%. So, great segue
Okay, yeah.
because that's what the other, like, hardest part. So, with my son, I went into labor naturally with him, 37 weeks, and we literally prayed every time Logan walked out that door to go to shift that he wouldn't be on shift, like, that I wouldn't go into labor until he got home.
Yeah. Right.
And we begged God not to put me in labor. And he did it, and he, like, had just come off shift that morning, and we went into labor, and it was fine, and he took some shifts off, and it was lovely. It was so good. And then there's my daughter. And if
Oh,
you don't
no.
know, she's a little redhead, and she is fiery. So,
She lives up to her story.
110%. Sorry. Oh gosh, like, where do I start with her? Um, she so I got preeclampsia with her,
Mhm.
and only 2% of women get preeclampsia with your second if you didn't have it with your first. So I'm just super lucky.
A 2%er. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. So at 33 weeks, I was on modified bed rest, and we just got to monitor at home, which is like very rare. But I don't remember how we had decided that Logan would go on shift. I guess because I'm like trying to remember because it's a blur. But I guess we had just decided because I would have to be induced anyway if my blood
Mhm.
pressure got too high. So he was like, would come home. But again, to your point, it was 2 hours away.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So he went on shift. He must have gone on shift maybe Sunday. Yeah. Okay. He went on shift Sunday. Monday, I was at my parents' house and I was checking my blood pressure regularly and it was like high. And I was like, crap, like something's not right. And so I was like, okay, like it wasn't extraordinarily high, but I like felt that mama bear instinct. I was like,
Yeah.
something ain't
This
right.
isn't right. Mhm.
Yeah, so I went into the hospital by myself. I mean, with my backpack, just walked in, said, I'm here to get checked out. My mom was at home with my son, so it was just me.
Yeah.
And they did some tests, and a normal range is like 200. I was at 6,000. So, yeah. So
What?
it was bad. Um, and so they're like, "You're having a baby today." And I
Right
said,
now.
"Okay." And I had
Did you
already,
have
like,
Logan, like, on standby at that point?
not
Like, did
really.
he know you were going to the hospital to, like, get checked
Yeah.
out?
Yeah, I had told
Okay.
him, but I love him. I love him. And he, like, had he just didn't process how serious it was.
Oh.
And so, yes, he was on standby 2 hours away.
Right.
Um,
No, still. Mhm.
so I had to sit through because she was 34 weeks, so we knew she would go into the NICU. And I had to sit there and listen to the NICU talk and process what was happening. Thankfully, my mom was able to come join me. Um, but I told or so the nurse told me they'd start me on like some meds that night, but not the like pitocin till the morning. But they said because it's your second, like it could come tonight. And I was like, because some women like just that cervix softener like kicks them into overdrive.
Yeah.
So I call Logan after I hear this and I say, "You need to come home now. Like, I don't even have my hospital back. Like, come home." And he reasoned with me not to come home. Like, because
What?
he wouldn't get home till midnight or to the hospital till midnight. And he should just get to sleep a couple extra hours. It's fine. It's totally fine. We figured it
Oh, I have never heard this story before.
out. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Sorry. And I know there were, like, other factors with what was going on in county. They were, like, understaffed that day or whatever. I mean,
Right.
you know, like,
Mhm.
it feels important. So, I was like, "No, you're coming home now or else I'll murder you. Don't tell your cop
Yeah.
husband." It's
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Please.
it's fine.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, he got there and I well, all the promises of like, "Oh, she'll come quick. Oh, she'll come quick," like, never happened. So I didn't deliver till 10 o'clock at night the next night, which is very annoying.
Mm.
Because Logan's like, "I
It's
could have
annoying
slept."
for
I was
the
like,
argument, but it's also annoying for you.
"Yes,
For the sake of
100%.
the argument, that's very annoying.
Yes, for real." But then she was 34 weeks, so my daughter spent 21 days in the NICU, and Logan had I don't know how much FMLA he had through county, but basically we made the decision that was really hard for him to continue to work until she came home from the NICU. And so, I mean,
Mm,
my
man.
parents, his parents, like, they watched our son, and I spent the 21 days in the NICU.
Doesn't it you? Mhm.
Logan got to come a handful of times, but he was watching our son too. So that was really hard. And then he had time off after, but you have to use it sparingly. It's not
Right.
a lot.
Well, it
So,
just doesn't provide the flexibility that a lot of other jobs provide. Like, whether you
yeah.
have FMLA or not, like, we
Mhm.
have to consider things like staffing and,
Oh,
like,
always,
can the
yeah.
city handle that? Can the county handle
Mhm.
that? What does that
Yeah,
look like to your partners? Because, they become family too. And so
yep,
you don't wanna leave them high and dry.
100%.
And Logan wasn't a lieutenant at that point, was he? Or it was right
No, he
before?
took the lieutenant position after. Yeah.
Yeah. But
It was pretty
still, like,
close,
he's
but
been there
still,
for a
yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Grant County isn't big at all. I mean,
No.
it's huge, like,
Right.
space-wise,
Right. Square
but,
footage is big.
yeah, yeah. But you take
Acreage
one
is big,
guy
but
yeah, you take one guy out, and it's like, that's a lot.
right.
And then there's the, like I mean, you've talked about it, but the hero mentality of, like I mean, he's literally saving lives, but
Exactly.
so does my problem matter?
Right.
Does it equal?
Right.
And then the point to your flexibility too is, like, he can't just take a couple hours off. Like,
Mm-mm.
"I need your help in the morning, just, like, go in late," or, like, "Come home early." Like, it's either
Yeah.
it's either 24 or 48 hours or nothing, really.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's probably the hardest is
Yeah.
the inflexibility and the, like, do you does my, um does my problem matter compared?
Yeah. I didn't prep you this one, but do you feel
No,
like
do it.
that's built up any kind of resentment in
Oh,
you
100%,
over time?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, it is a really weird balance to be proud of
Mhm.
my husband for what he
Yeah.
does and the lives he really saves,
Right.
and the burden it has put on me as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner. Like, it's a lot, and we've always talked Logan has always been open to, like, the pros and cons, and if
Right.
the cons ever outweigh the pros, he would quit, and he would go work somewhere else,
Okay. Yeah.
but they never have. They're close. They're really close right now, but it's hard to give up the 4 days off. It's hard to give up technically getting paid while you sleep, which sounds
Right.
bad,
Right.
but
No.
he gets paid if he's on shift. So all of the hours, whether he's asleep or not. Um, yeah, I don't think I could go to a 9 to 5 with him. We've done it and it sucked. But this sucks too.
Right. Yeah. So I have two questions then, like you can
Yeah,
pick your order to answer them in. I'm curious if you're willing to share some of the specific like pros and cons that you guys continuously
yeah,
weigh. And
totally.
then maybe you can talk about how like you're no longer teaching
Yeah,
and how that's changed over time for you because
yeah,
I would imagine the job has a lot to do with that. I know not everything to do with that.
yeah, no,
And
100%.
still. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, let's start with pros and cons.
Yeah.
Um, sorry.
That pesky
Okay,
voice, I'm telling you.
I know, it's so annoying. I'm sorry to everyone that's listening to Minnie Mouse right now. It's very annoying. Jessica, you'll have to have me back and like I can talk normal.
Yeah. They're gonna
It's
be like, I'm sorry, I've never heard this person before. Who
yeah,
is this?
brand new. It's fine. Okay, so pros, like really the 4 days off is incredible.
Yeah.
He's able to go to like kid activities that most dads can't. I
Mhm.
mean, he gets a lot of the like pity, like, oh, you have both kids today when he like goes to the grocery store on a Wednesday, which I'm like, I go to the grocery store on a Wednesday, get over it. But that's
Oh.
another story.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's no, like, great
Um,
achievement. Okay.
yeah, seriously. I think another pro is that like we love Grand County and they have truly become
Yeah.
family. It's hard because they're 2 hours away, so we don't get to see them often. But like I personally talk to, I actually end up being friends with like a bunch of the first responder girls that like are in Greene County, but they truly are family. So that's hard, like hard and good, you know. That's a
Yeah.
pro. Um, Pro is that Logan loves it. He loves what he does. He gets a lot of fulfillment out of it. He was miserable as a mechanic. Like, it was not fun to be around him. And now it's
Oh my
like, he's awesome. Yeah. And he's like, he'll tell you, but he's grown as like an extrovert now. Where he used to like never talk to people. And now he like can have a full conversation with you.
That's
So
kind of part of
that's
the job now.
oh, 100%. Yeah. How do you sit in the back of an ambulance for 2 hours without talking to them?
Yeah, and, like,
So
trying to console them and,
yeah,
keep them,
totally.
like, lucid. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Okay, those are pros.
Yeah.
Cons. Truly, solo parenting is awful. I give every credit to any like single mom, cause or dad,
Yeah.
cause
Mhm.
it's freaking hard. Um,
We at least
yeah,
get, like, relief every now and then, single parents don't. So,
yeah, totally,
totally feel for you.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And thankfully, like, I have a good support system, but to your podcast last week, the mental load is so intense being
Yeah.
this, like, solo parent. It's very intense. So I loved your
Yeah.
podcast. I was like, "Yes, preach."
Good.
Um, I think another con, and we haven't seen this as much as being a paramedic wife as you probably have as a police wife, but the hard calls are hard. And he brings that
Yeah.
home sometimes. Most of the time he can compartmentalize, but there are times that he needs to come home and sleep and decompress, and that means an extra shift for me.
Yep.
So, that's hard. Um, yeah, I mean, the schedule is hard. 48 hours gone is a lot. Um, Holidays suck because it's like hit or miss if he's gone. were
And
thinking
for
about this
him, he's, like, gone. He's not, like, at the
Yeah,
fire department, firehouse, and
no,
you can, like, go visit him while he's on shift, but
yeah,
he was literally 2 hours away.
yeah,
So,
no,
it's not really a visitable
no,
office.
yeah. I take the kids every once in a while, but it's like a
Mhm.
whole day thing.
Yeah,
Um,
right. And the weather
yeah,
has to be good. I mean, this is a mountain town we're talking about, like, the
yes,
paths can
yes,
close, like, all those things.
yep, yep,
Yeah,
you're percent. Um, so yeah, I think those are the hardest.
yeah.
Um, so, but
Do you see that
oh,
changing, like, as the kids get older with other activities, or do you think, like, back to your point, like, he's, able to be there on a random Wednesday night
mhm,
sometimes, or he has
yeah,
Saturdays off every now and then?
yeah.
Probably more than most people.
Oh, totally.
Mhm.
No, I think it's the same because well, I think it's actually better when the kids get older because it's things like field trips or,
Yeah,
that's what he's, like, most excited about with our son going to elementary school. He's, like,
yeah.
pumped to be, like, a watchdog. I don't know, it's like a
Oh, yes. Mhm.
male presence in the elementary school. He's, like, already signing up for it. I'm like, "We haven't even gotten there. Hold on."
See, that's so
Uh,
funny. My
yeah.
husband, knows he doesn't want to because they won't let him do it the way he wants to do it,
Oh,
because he's in law enforcement.
yeah, no,
So he
that's not a
wants to,
good job
like
for him.
yeah, mhm, he wants to, we'll just say, level up what they
Yes.
want him to do.
Yeah, I
So,
don't think that's a good
yeah,
idea. Not a good place for your husband. No,
I was
that's
like,
funny.
"Okay, yeah, you can't go there, actually."
Yeah. So, yeah, it really does ebb and flow, but
Yeah.
so far we're sticking with it. We'll see.
Mhm. Right.
Like, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but then to your other point, how it's
Mhm.
also changed my world. So, I used to be a teacher. I taught 1st and 2nd grade in preschool. Um, and I always thought teaching was, like, perfect because it, like, provides flexibility, quote, unquote, "flexibility."
Yeah.
It does provide breaks, which is nice, but
Yep.
the breaks never seem to fall when your kid needs to go to the doctor, when your kid is sick, or when, like, a family emergency happens.
Right.
So, it was great until it wasn't. And there's a lot of I mean, obviously, there's a lot of factors that went into me switching,
Right.
but a big factor was my husband's schedule and the pressure I felt after having my second to be able to drop everything and do what needs to be done.
Do
Um,
you think that them being so young has to do with that? Because I think about that a lot. I think of, like,
yeah,
the needs with young children, like under 6, are so much more intense than the
yeah,
needs for older kids because they're in school 8 hours a
yeah,
day, typically.
totally. Yeah,
And so, like, I think about that personally all the time of, like, gosh, in some ways, it would be so much easier when they're in school and I have these almost guaranteed 8 hours
yep,
where I can do something. Now, yes, they're gonna have sick days and things are gonna happen, but it feels like a little bit less hands-on
yeah,
than the young kids.
yeah. I had a friend describe it one time that was like the physical load of littles is so heavy and it's physical
Mhm.
and it's exhausting. The
Yep.
mental and emotional load of older kids is exhausting and heavy.
Yeah.
So it just like flip flops. So I've always said that my goal was to be go back to teaching when my kids
Yeah.
go to school, because the same, like, I could
Yeah.
teach at the same school or at least in the same district.
Our breaks
Um,
would match up, like,
yep,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
I found a new passion out of chaos.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I made a massive leap and it's been really good because it is hard, like, with my husband's schedule, like, being able to be home and working from home makes all the difference. Like, it's really nice.
Yeah, so tell us what you do now.
Okay. Yeah. So shout out. I oh, you okay?
Yeah, just hit my mic. It's
Oh,
okay. Sorry, everyone.
it's fine. Yeah, so I quit my job as a preschool teacher and I didn't have a backup plan at all. So I went to Facebook and I had heard about this thing called virtual assistant. And I literally put a post that said, "Who needs a virtual assistant?" And I had 8 job offers in 24 hours because the industry is massive. Yeah, it was a lot.
Wow. I
Yeah,
remember that post, and I was like, "Here we
yeah,
go. Let's do this." I
yeah.
had no
It was
idea you had that good of a turnout. That's amazing.
yeah, it was and it was everybody from a physical therapist to an author to a real estate agent to just a small business owner, like, everyone was like, "Please help me." And I was like, "Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing, but sure." So I hired or not hired, they hired me,
Right.
with 2 clients, 2 end clients is what they're called. Um, and I have since expanded to, 3 end clients, plus I was crazy and I launched the second half of my business. So my business is called Mills and May Services, and I help coach new and existing virtual assistants, and I connect end clients with virtual assistants and virtual
Yeah.
assistants with end clients. So it's been amazing, super amazing.
You're like the
And I,
matchmaker of the business world.
yeah, yes. And there's lots of companies that do things like that, but I take the approach of being personal about it. So, like, I get to ask my virtual assistant clients, like, "What are you passionate about?" And for some of these, mostly women, but some of these women are like, "I don't know. No one's ever asked me that before." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's dive
Hmm.
in." And then we get to pull, like, things out of these women and, like, connect them with end clients that are needing what they're passionate about, whether it's spreadsheets or calendars or vet clinics or ministry
Yeah.
opportunities, like, it's a wide variety. So, it's been awesome, and I feel so, like, happy for the first time in a
Mm,
really long time.
I know. And as
So,
your friend, like, I can see that.
yeah, I
So
appreciate
that's
that.
been really beautiful to see.
Thank you.
Um, has it provided some, like, stress relief on the home front as far as, like, having that constant pressure to be the on-call parent where, like, like, if something happens, it's you. You are the
Yeah,
default parent. Does
yeah.
that help that relieve some of that pressure?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, getting to be passionate about something for the first time is, like, seriously incredible. So
Yeah.
yes, like, getting to, like, do something I love does help because then I'm, like, fulfilled to then pour out to my kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but it also adds more pressure in some ways because now I'm running a business and I have clients, like, consistent clients, and I'm trying to meet all the demands, and my daughter is home most of the time. Thank goodness for grandparents. Again, shout out grandparents.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, I know.
but, like, to your point earlier about going to school for 8 hours a day or whatever it is, like, that sounds that sounds so nice. I'm like, "Please take my child. I can't." Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, but it's been really so yes, it relieves a lot of pressure because 'cause I'm, like, joyful and overflowing, and it provides a lot of pressure because I'm like doing a lot. So
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
both.
That's what I tell my husband all the time. It's not the like physical things in our house that I need help with. Like,
Yeah,
yes, I've had to teach myself to be okay with a dirty home in certain areas. Like I've had to
same.
reprioritize things.
Yeah,
And like the pressure to keep business running while managing kids and all the things, it's hard. It's
it's
hard.
really
It
hard.
adds a different level of
Yeah,
pressure no matter how much you like your job.
yeah, totally,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, to your point, the mental load is immense.
Yeah.
And being the default parent is hard. Is really hard.
Yeah.
So, and I don't get the
Well,
like award for it, like through
no.
county. It's like,
No.
cool, you're doing your job as a mom. Good job. I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Prior to becoming a mom, I saw all those like memes or like before reels, I guess,
Yeah.
but things that were like, this is the dollar amount parent mom should be paid.
Oh,
And I always kind of thought it was like
100%.
semi-dramatic, but I can't even tell you the number of days that I've been in my kitchen and I'm like, I'm not even getting paid for this.
Yes. For real. For real.
Uh,
Goodness.
okay,
That's
let's end on a relationship note, but I
okay.
want to talk about like your relationships with finding other first responder families.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know specifically if that's been more difficult because of the Grand County thing, which you kind of touched on, where he's
Yeah.
2 hours away. And I'm also kind of curious as far as a paramedic wife standpoint,
Hmm.
because, I feel like that's a smaller group in general.
It
So to
is.
find
Yeah.
people you connect with, I feel like could be difficult.
100%. 100%. Um, Yeah, it's very lonely. I mean, I naturally have had lots of first responder, like, friends, AKA you, and a couple
Yeah.
others that are just, like, friends and then happen to be first responder
We like
spouses.
somehow tend to gravitate toward each other
Yeah,
without even knowing. It's so
100%.
interesting. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always, yeah. It's like, "Oh, I see my people. I'm coming."
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know quite yet how you're my people, but I just know. Like, I just
yes.
know that somehow we relate.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, my husband is 2 hours away, so his that family community that I was talking about,
Mhm.
we, like I mean, I have a Snapchat group with, my husband, his partner, and his partner's girlfriend, um,
Okay.
and I love that, so that's kinda fun, like, they're
Yeah.
aunt and uncle, to my kids,
Yep.
so that's really special. But no. There's not, and I think the hardest part is that my husband is solely a paramedic, he's not a firefighter.
Right.
So but most paramedics are firefighters. It's very rare to be just a paramedic, and Logan has no desire to be a firefighter solely, like, he would do it if he got hired on a big, um what's it called?
Department.
Thank you.
I got
I'm
you.
losing it. Like, what? If he got hired on a big department, he would be a firefighter paramedic, but he would focus
Yeah.
on the ambulance side of things. But I don't 100% relate to firefighter spouses because as a paramedic spouse, there is a lot less danger. Although it happens, like,
I
and it
mean, he
happens,
works in avalanche county
yeah,
country, so like that's certainly a danger.
100%. And
Mhm.
he's on a team for search and rescue type missions. So that's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
a concern. But it's different than a firefighter.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, really the only like people I kind of connect to are ones from Grand County. Um, and I like see them on Facebook and Instagram and have a relation quote unquote relationship from that.
Yep.
Um, yeah. But I mean, there's like opportunities, like different groups that you and I are part of that like we're getting to know other people.
Yep.
Um, and it is helpful because first responder life is first responder life. Like You
It
are
is.
in it. You're a
Yep.
family. Um, so that has been nice. But yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
I wish I had more positive news.
No, I feel like that's pretty common, and, like, I'm thinking back on my own journey of relationships with first
Mhm,
responder families. When my husband first started with his department, like, first got into police,
mhm.
I was, like, almost completely resistant to the idea of, like, connecting with any other police families because I was like,
Yeah,
"This is not gonna define us, like, we are not just gonna, like, become this, like." I don't even know if I had those thoughts fully, but I
that
would
is
just, like,
hilarious.
not. Yeah, I was like, "No, this is our life, that's your
Yeah,
job." Like, "No."
that's a
And
very
then after the
Jessica stance, and I love it. Totally Jessica. You're like, "No, heck no." That
yeah,
is funny.
you know what? It just is. That
I love it,
is true.
and yes, I love it, and it's not surprising.
I'll put my foot into the ground and dig it into the sand as long as possible.
Yep.
And then 2020 hit, and the hostility to police
Oh, yeah,
grew, and then
yeah,
our day-to-day life changed because
mm,
that imminent danger became much more real in a very different way.
yeah,
Like, our first officer was killed by ambush. Like, it
yeah,
wasn't just an incident gone wrong, it was purposeful.
yeah,
So, that type of thing, had made me kind of draw inward more and then only trust certain people.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
and that is that first responder world. So, like you
Mhm.
said, we're part of a couple groups now that are starting in order to connect. So I feel like there is that growing movement of recognizing that like spouses need it too and families need it
Yeah,
too. And it is a little bit more serious than we all thought. Like how bad we need each other. Even just
100%.
to like
Yeah,
relate to and be like, oh my gosh, he's not coming home again. Or oh my gosh, you got called out again. And
yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
girl, I feel you.
yeah. Trying to
Yeah.
call Logan on shift is next to impossible. It's,
Yeah.
like, useless. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have a funny story, but we can share that for whenever. But I, like, refuse to try to talk to him when he's on shift because it's not worth it.
Oh,
Because he's gonna get
I mean,
called
like,
out or
right.
whatever, like
I
yeah.
always am like, thank God you didn't marry a clingy person because like
Yeah.
you're never gonna answer my call and you're never gonna
No,
respond to a text. If you do, I'm
no.
like, this must be the most boring day of all time. Like, why are you
Yeah,
talking to me right now?
yeah. 100%. I'm, like, worried about if they
Yeah, I'm
talk
like,
to me.
what's happening? Why are
Yeah,
you texting me?
yeah, that's funny. Well, I used to be the clingy girl, and now I'm like, "Well, I've totally changed." And I had
Well,
to.
you don't really get a choice. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
100%,
Yeah.
yeah. That is
All right,
funny.
let's end on this. Give us your best piece of advice for families or couples like just starting out in the first responder world.
I love it. That is funny because that's the funny story that I had. Um,
Perfect. We don't even have
Perfect.
to skip a funny story. Let's do this.
Yeah, you like are on my brainwave. That's probably scary, like, don't it's terrifying in there. Anyway, um, so this is something that I've just discovered 8 years into being a paramedic wife, but to the point of communication, I would cry when he, like, wouldn't talk to me or, like, not get back when he's on shift, and I was like,
Oh, no.
"Do I matter to you? Like, these people are so much
Mm,
more important than I am." Like,
yeah.
so that I just felt like I was banging my head against the wall. I would send texts, but then they would get forgotten, and then we wouldn't have communication, and then he'd come home, and how do you reintroduce him to your life? Like, "Hey, by the
Right.
way, you've been gone for 48 hours, and your daughter no longer drinks milk from a bottle. It's from a sippy cup." Like, don't
Yep.
mess it up because she'll scream. Like, that's hard. That's really, really hard. So instead of banging my head against the wall, do you know Slack from like the business world? Do you use
Yeah.
Slack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
We now have a Slack channel, just Logan and I. because that
A
is where we came
marital
to.
Slack channel. This is good.
Yes, 100%, and it is life-changing, and I kid you not. So, we literally have a channel for schedule, and when he's on shift, I list out the whole schedule for when he's home, so 4 days. And I
Okay.
list off everything I need from him, everything I'm doing, everything I need for my business, everything he needs for his business because he works on cars from home. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So I list
His
all
side
of that out.
hustle.
Yeah, as every firefighter and paramedic has.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, we have a schedule Slack or channel, and then we have Brianne's communication and Logan's communication. And in my communication channel, I can put all of the things that I'm thinking, all of the updates, family updates, whatever, so that he can then go and read it when he has a chance. And he has committed to responding to said channels. And it has been amazing. Because
Okay.
then I
Did
don't
it
feel the
take like
pressure.
a while to get him onto that? Because I feel like there
No.
would be massive resistance on our end.
Well, I mean, that's a whole other story. But no, because he could feel, I mean, it's been eight freaking years. Like, he can feel
Yeah.
the stress that I was like, I can't keep trying to communicate with you and you not
Hmm.
communicate back. And so, I mean, it involved a couple tears. So pull those out if
Totally.
you need to.
Yep.
But no, he's so like logic, structured,
That's true.
minded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, okay, sure. So yeah, we're on Slack. Join Slack. That's my like
That's your tip. I mean,
it
okay,
is.
but there's so much truth into that of like finding the thing that works for you.
Yeah. Oh,
No
totally.
matter how many things you have to go through. It's like,
Yes.
okay, well, that one didn't work. So let's try this one. Okay, well, that one's not
Yeah.
working. Let's try this one. I can't tell you how many different digital calendars we have tried.
Yes.
And so we finally
Yes.
just came back to Google and I was like, look,
Yeah. Same.
this is the one I use. So like you just need to use it. I don't know what to tell you.
Yes. Yeah.
But then I did go old school and get the like whiteboard calendar, and
Yep.
that's in our kitchen. And that
Yep.
has actually been the most clutch thing. Like
Love it.
he actually looks at it, actually reads it, he contributes to it. So that's
That's amazing.
come to find out our thing. And we had to go through a
Yeah.
lot of things to get to that.
Yeah. We tried that and Logan never looked at it or remembered. So I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
But
Right.
he remembers Slack. So whatever.
Does
That's
he use
fine.
it at the department? Is that
No.
why like Slack
No.
is okay, it just
No.
was the thing that stuck. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. It's the thing
It's
that
a
stuck.
whole yeah, totally. It's a whole separate app. So that like
Yeah.
and it has notifications so he can like unread
Mm,
his notifications to remind him
yeah,
to come back to it. So, yeah.
that makes sense.
I'm like, you gotta do what you gotta do, but figure out a way to communicate that's not like beating your head against the wall. And try to do it
Yeah.
as quickly as possible before you beat your head against the wall. So
Yeah.
that's
Totally. Let's
my
sit down and figure out the thing that you're both going to commit to and then commit to
yeah,
it.
totally.
Yeah,
100%. Yep.
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It took us such trial and error to get on this thing, and it's
Fine.
all good. We made it happen. Um, in the show notes, I'm going to put all the information for Brianne's business, Mills and Mae's Services. So you can
Thank
go
you.
check her out, whether you're considering being a VA or maybe you need some VA assistance. She's your girl. Anything else you want to leave us on as we exit today?
I think the only thing I can think of that just like immediately popped in my head was like, as a first responder spouse, find ways to take care of yourself because you need to.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's all I got.
Okay. That's good. That's
Okay.
good advice. All right,
Thank you.
girl. I'll see you later. Thanks for being
Okay.
on.
Of course.
We'll see
Thank
you
you for
next
having
week,
me.
guys.